All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming to the Board of Directors Forum. How is everyone doing tonight? There you go. Perfect. All right, that's the husky spirit I'm talking about. Okay, so tonight we are here to witness the Board of Directors Forum. So these are all the 10 Board of Directors candidates who are seated in the front of the room here. They will be having microphones, so all of you will be able to hear them there. Before we do go with the event, I'd like to invite one of our guest speakers here today, being Elizabeth Smith McCrossan. I'll just give a little bio about her there. So she was raised on a dairy farm in Linden, Nova Scotia, and she learned the value of hard work early on. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Dalhousie University and completed an Executive MBA from St. Mary's University in 2013. Prior to entering politics, Elizabeth has worked as a registered nurse in various settings and owned and operated a number of businesses in her home community of Amherst. Since 2017, she has served as the MLA for Cumberland North, passionately advocating for improved healthcare, economic growth, and better government services for her community. Notably, she was elected twice as an independent between 2021 and 2024, the only person in modern Nova Scotia history to do so. So I'd like to welcome Elizabeth to the stage here.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. It's my honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me here tonight and to be part of such an exciting time for you all here in your votes and vying for to be able to serve here on the board for St. Mary's University. So thank you for the invitation. And I'd like to share a few words tonight, share with you a little bit about my experience and hope that it will inspire you in your service here. Before I became an elected representative, a nurse or a business owner, I was raised on a dairy farm in Amherst, Nova Scotia. And it taught me one of the most important attributes about this life in service, and that is to work hard and having a strong work ethic. And I wanted to make that point as I bring my comments to you tonight. Never underestimate the value of hard work and getting things done. It's great to be back here at St. Mary's campus. As Simon mentioned, from 2011 to 2013, I spent every second weekend here for 2 years, completing my EMBA here through St. Mary's, and I loved every minute of it. If I could actually do my EMBA again, I would, if I had the time and the money. It was a great experience and very proud to be an alumni of St. Mary's University. And while I was studying for my MBA, I had 4 small businesses at the time and 4 children at home that I was raising. It was a very busy time. And then it led me to step into the world of politics. I can see that a lot has changed here on campus. And I have no doubt that the leadership of the student body had a large role to play in shaping the progress that has been made here at St. Mary's. Tonight, I want to leave you with 3 things to consider, 3 pieces of advice. First is to find your passion. What drives you? What are you passionate about? The second thing is be fearless. Don't back down in the face of adversity and continue to stand up for what is right and what you believe in. And thirdly, always remember who you work for. A little bit about my background. Before politics, before nursing, and before running a business, I grew up on a dairy farm in a small community outside of Pugwash, about 2.5 hours from here. And when I was just a young girl, about 5 years old, I lost my mother. She had skin cancer. She was diagnosed when right after I was born. And she was sick for those 5 years. So I really don't have any memories of being with my mom because she was in hospital. And other women and helpers in the community helped to raise myself and my older brother and sister. But one of the memories that I do have is visiting her in the hospital. I remember the nurses dressed in white. And that experience fueled my passion that I still have today as a 55-year-old woman. And that is the passion for healthcare. I, since I can remember, wanted to be a nurse and wanted to be able to serve people like my mom that were experiencing a life-threatening illness. And that led me to go to Dalhousie right from high school and get a degree in nursing. And then, as Alex Simon mentioned, I went on and started 4 small businesses, all healthcare related, and used my nursing experience in those. That was my passion. What is yours? What is your story? Each one of us have a story. So think about that. What drives you? What is your passion? What do you want to accomplish in your life? Growing up on the family farm, we all had to pitch in. I remember being 5 years old and my job was to feed the cows. I had to stand in front and give them their oats when they came in to be milked. It meant a lot of early mornings and late nights, but it taught me the value of hard work, like I mentioned at the beginning. Now, a story I like to share sometimes when I give a little speech is I have a bull story. Now, how many people here in the room grew up on a farm? Okay, well, we have one at the back. 2. So they may be able to relate to this story. For the rest of you, I want to assure you this actually did happen. So one of the things that our father used to always say to us, if the bull chases you, never turn and run. Stand and face him because he will run you down and probably kill you. So when I was about 10 years old, the bull that we had at the time, he was temperamental, let's say. And our dad said to my sister and I, okay, when you get the cows in to be milked, make sure you take the tractor because the bull is not safe. So one morning at 5:30 in the morning, my sister and I jump on the tractor and the cows, there was about 100 of them. They were broken into 2 different bunches, one in the front part of the pasture and the second bunch over the hill. And my sister, God love her, she hates it when I tell the story because we really do love each other. And she is 6 years older than me, but she kicked me off the tractor and said, "You go get this group of cows, and I'll drive the tractor over the hill to get the second group." And I remember saying, "Well, what about if the bull is there?" And she said, "Oh, the bull's not. He won't be there." So off she goes with the tractor. You know what the story? What I'm going to tell you, right? As soon as she went over the hill, out of this group of about 20 cows, the bull walks about 10 feet out of the center. And he looks at me and he starts pawing his hoof. And he starts, I'm going to get over here. Let his head down. And then after he paws the ground about 4 or 5 times, he charges me. Now, I was 10 years old and I'm standing there in my rubber boots. Well, he's about 30 feet from me. And I stood there, never moved. And I hollered at him, "You can't hurt me." And as he's charging at me, keep in mind, this is a 2,000-pound animal. He got about 5 feet in front of me and then stopped dead in his tracks. And he raised his head and looked at me as if to say, "What are you doing still standing here?" And I never moved. And then he just turned around and went back to where he was. But guess what? He did it again. Charged me again. And I stood there and I hollered at him, "You can't hurt me." And I remembered the advice my father gave. And I stood. I was full of fear, but I never let him see it. Anyway, he went on to do that 4 times. And on the 5th time, my sister comes over the hill in the tractor and sees what's happening and comes and chases him away. And then I ran to safety. And that story, as hard as it is to believe, taught me a lot in life because life can be hard. And for those of you that are putting your name on the ballot to make some positive change here, you're going to face adversity. You're going to face people with different opinions. And sometimes people won't be nice when they disagree. And it's important, if it's what you believe in, that you stand your ground and you never give in to fear. Love my bull story. Over the years, I have faced many situations that have been challenging. But before I share that with you, I want to share with you a point about my third point, and that is never forget who you work for. When I was first elected in 2017, I ran as a member of the Progressive Conservative Party in my home riding of Cumberland North, and I had an amazing mentor. His name was Premier Roger Bacon. He was the premier here in Nova Scotia back in the 80s, and he was MLA for around 25 years in the same area that I was. And I would go to his house from time to time and sit down, and he would give me advice. And it's important for all of us to have mentors in our lives, someone that we can seek advice from. And one of the valuable pieces of advice that he gave me, and I will never forget, is he said, Elizabeth, never forget who you work for. Never forget who you work for and who you serve. And in my job here in the province of Nova Scotia, I represent around 18,000 people up in Cumberland County, Cumberland North. But I come here to the legislature in Halifax. And sometimes you can get in the little bubble here, and it's easy to forget what are the issues back home and what am I actually here for. So never forget who you serve. You serve the students of St. Mary's. And never allow yourself to get too distracted. Always bring yourself back and remind yourself who you serve. Over the years, I've faced situations where what was best for my constituents didn't align with what was best, what some believed for the party. And as some of you may know, that ultimately led to my departure from the party and my decision to run as an independent. Just weeks after leaving the party was a challenge. But the people that I represented, they recognized that I stood up for them and what they believed in. And they reelected me because they knew that I was putting my name on the ballot to serve them. I remembered what Roger Bacon had said. I always put them first. I paid a price, but it was worth it because what I stood for was what was right for the people that I served. After continuing to work for the people of Cumberland North over the past 3 years, they once again made their choice in the most recent election. They chose me to be their voice, reinforcing that their trust in me wasn't about party politics. It was about standing up for what is right. As you start campaigning and as you answer questions tonight, remember this. You cannot get elected on your own. It's the people who put you there. And if you are elected, you have to represent them and be their voice. And I'll leave you with one final point. My assistant, Alex, do you want to stand up? Stand up so they all see you. Alex Wilson is my legislative assistant. Very proud to have hired him. He served as the board chair of SMUSA in 2022, 2023. He also managed my last campaign. And as the results were coming in, we began to celebrate. But Alex said, let's wait. There was still advanced poll that had to be reported. And Alex said, we need to wait to celebrate. Because he often shared a story with our campaign team about losing a SMUSA election by guess how many votes? 1 vote. Over on the drive over here, Alex reminded me to tell you this. Over the next few weeks, as you embark on your campaigns, some of you for the first time, remember that every conversation matters, every social media post matters, and most importantly, every single vote matters, even one. Thank you so much for having me tonight and be part of this event. Remember to always live by your passion. Find your passion. Make sure you know what your purpose is. And be fearless. Stand strong in the face of adversity. Do not back away. Do not turn around and run. Stand strong and be fearless. And remember always who you serve. I wish you all the best in this election. I applaud your courage and your tenacity for putting your name forward. And once again, thank you for the honor of having me here with you tonight.
Alrighty, big thanks to Elizabeth. That was a very nice presentation and very insightful as well, and very inspiring, in fact, that you've been, as we can say, maybe all over the place, but you've had an impact wherever you were. So big thank you for coming here tonight. Now, I'd like to invite Mitchell from the Dash Fund. He's just going to say a few words, and then we'll invite Paula over to the front, and then the debate starts, which is probably what you all came for. So we'll just let the stage to Mitchell for a few seconds.
Thank you, Simon. Hi, folks. I think most of you were here last night, so I will not subject you to the same pitch a second time. If you weren't here last night, thanks for coming tonight. And I'll say a quick piece of, my name is Mitchell. I'm the Executive Director of Student Housing Nova Scotia. We're currently running our DASH Fund, or our Developing Affordable Student Housing Fund campaign here at SMU. I'd like to invite all you, both candidates, students, and community members, to our roundtable event tomorrow from 4 to 6 in the Student Center Common Space. It will be kind of an expanded Q&A. We'll have free food, pizza, snacks, drinks for those 2 hours. We'll be there to answer your questions, to do a bit more of a informed presentation where we can actually show some information on the screen and give you a bit more in depth. So if you had questions last night or you still have questions tonight, tomorrow is the best place to do that. Otherwise, you can reach out to us. You can follow us on Instagram at @StudentHousingNS, and we look forward to and are grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
Are we good? Pardon me? Yes, turn the camera to them, please. Okay, so for those of you in the audience, just going to give you a little bit of an overview of how this is going to go. These guys have a piece of paper in front of them. In order to keep this fair, I did a random drawing. There's 3 separate schedules of who speaks when. What I would do if I were you is I'd cross off a column each time so I know which one we're in. They have been given 3 questions ahead of time. They are allowed to choose which 2 they're going to answer. I'm going to ask everybody who wants to answer question 1, and they'll go through according to the order on the sheet, and then question 2, and then question 3. You only have to answer 2 of the 3. Then we will move to questions from the floor. The default is they get 30 seconds to answer, but if I think it's a complex question, I'll say everybody gets a minute for this. Is that okay? And if you think that 30 seconds isn't enough, and let me know, and we'll give everybody the same amount. Fair enough? Okay, but to start, we have a 90-second intro from each person where they just get to tell you what they want for 90 seconds. So Alex Melendi. Press the red button, Howard.
Testing.
There you
Testing. Perfect. Thank you. Hi, guys. My name's Alex, and I'm a first-year commerce student here at SMU. This year, I've been very involved on campus. I started the Investment Society, which I'm currently the president of. I joined Enactus St. Mary's, where I'm representing SMU as a presenter at the Atlantic Canadian competition this year. And I joined Enactus Business Square Roots as an executive member. These experiences have given me a lot of face-to-face time spent with SMUSA, where I've learned a lot about the pros and cons of SMUSA from the perspective of a student. I'm running for the board of directors because I want to make sure that SMUSA truly represents the interest of the student body. I want to address issues that are directly relevant to students that impact their day-to-day life. To start off, I'd like to talk about the SMUSA yearbook fee. According to the SMUSA website, every student pays a $725 yearbook fee, despite SMU not having a yearbook currently. Furthermore, I'd like to look at the board of directors' compensation and decrease it, and then allocate more of those funds towards student services, so that we are emphasizing helping the entire student population rather than a few select members of the board. While we're speaking about the board, I'd also like to increase the required number of committee meetings for the board each year. Currently, board committees are only required to meet twice a semester, and I think that increasing that number would help the board make more of an impact on the everyday life of students. Furthermore, my experience leading the investment society this year and starting it has taught me that it might be possible to improve society guidelines and policies to ensure that it's easier for students to interact with societies, join them, and lead them. Improving and streamlining policies with societies, which so many students are involved in, can have a massive impact on all students and help them enjoy their time at SMU more. Overall, if anybody has any questions or suggestions that they'd like to reach out to me to, or they'd like me to talk about, you're always free to contact me in the hallway, reach out to me on Instagram, or even email me. My Instagram for this campaign is @alexmelendi_smusa_bod. My personal Instagram, which you can also reach out to me to, is @alexmelendi, and my SMU email is alex.melendi.ca. alex.melendi@smu.ca. Thank
Okay.
you.
I let Alex go to 2 minutes, so each of you is getting 2 minutes. Okay, yeah, only because this is the shortest. Where with there's 10, this is shorter than usual. So Alex Phillips, you're next.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Alex Phillips. I am a third-year student here at St. Mary's, taking Ancient Studies and English. Throughout my years at SMU here, I have been heavily involved on campus. I've been an RA on residence for the last 2 years, which has given me a lot of insight into a lot of the issues that students are facing on campus. In residence, we have a very diverse population, and everybody has different needs. And when students don't feel represented, they come to their RA to see where they can find those supports. So I am very aware of where things need to be addressed here at SMU. Whether you are a student with a disability, a queer student, a student of color, an international or local student, I have heard all of your concerns, and I think they all need to be addressed by SMUSA. I have also been, for the last 3 years, an executive of the Society of Ancient Studies, which I helped ratify in my first year. And I have been an executive of the Drama Society for the last 2 years as well. So I have had a lot of knowledge of how SMUSA works for its societies. And I agree with Alex Melendi that there is a lot of change that can be done with how societies are run and how they're managed. And so I would like to see some improvements to that as well. Basically, my goal for the board is to have it represent its students more fairly and more accurately, as there are lots of students who don't feel as they are heard or represented by SMU.
Hello there. My name is Ethan Stanhope. I'm a first-year student at St. Mary's, an art student. I came to SMU knowing I wanted to do something. I wanted to make a difference. I don't want to just be forgotten when I leave. I want to have at least a little bit of an impact. And from the first day, from when Simba walked on stage in the Family Feud, I knew I wanted to be part of SMUSA. All my friends from then will attest to that. So I knew I wanted to be part of SMUSA, so I did. I became a street team member, where I had a lot of face-to-face time in events with executives of SMUSA. So I know I talked to them about their jobs. So I know what people do, and I know how it works a lot better than people who haven't been involved. I don't know societies as well, but I do know how it works. I do know events, and I know what people want at these events. There's been a lot of issues with awareness of events, especially this semester. There's been like 10 events I've worked at with like 5 people showing up. People aren't aware that events are happening, and that's a problem because it's not just events, it's SMUSA in general. at the president debate last night, people were talking, someone mentioned how people didn't know what the president did or even who the president was, and that's not good. I think there's a big disconnect between the students and the SMUSA in general, which is ironic because we're meant to be representative of the students. So my goal is to try to bridge that connection once again to, like, you know, make us more connected with the students and represent the student body as a whole once again. Thank you.
Should still be on.
Do you guys know that Smuse Wi-Fi has 50% chance of making you regret your life decisions? Just like you, I am a student and I don't want you to regret your life decision coming here and listening to me. So my name is Akshat. I am a second year commerce student, which is one of the things I don't regret. I have been part of the campus all around. I have been part of Commerce Society, Fred Schmitter Center, and also part-time jobs outside the campus. I stand for board because I want to make every student's voice be heard and represented. I have sat in your seat. I know your frustration, and I want to make that frustration convert to actions. Uh, Today, I want to make this energy into a meaningful impact. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Kavya, and I'm finishing up my second year as a commerce student here right now. And one thing I've noticed is the lack of engagement between the student body and SMUSA. And this organization is for students. So without engaging with the students, how are we supposed to bring about change? I want students to actually know what we are doing. The biggest question I was asked when I was going around asking people for signatures for my nomination form was, what does the board do? We know what SMUSA does. We know who the execs are, but what does the board do? And people should know. Because if you don't know what the board does, then why are you electing anyone at all? Who are you voting for? Why are you voting for them if you don't know what they're going to do? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I'm a second year student majoring in computer science and business. I'm from the Bahamas. So as an international student, I understand your frustrations. I know your issues. I've been in your seat. When I first came on campus, I wanted to, get the feel of everything. And then first semester hit. It was pack leaders. Pack leaders were everywhere. They were showing me around campus, teaching me how to do this, helped me get very used to the campus life. That inspired me to become a pack leader. So when year 2 hits, I became a pack leader. I advocated for students who just came. I helped them around. I showed them around, told them what to do. Not really, not like that, but I helped them quite a bit. And one of my friends, he said, yo, let's volunteer at the community food room. And when I became a pack leader, in my mind, I just told myself that I was going to apply to every single thing that SMU has to offer. I wanted to incorporate myself to get extremely involved on campus. And eventually it led me to this very point in time where I'm running for board. I want to be able to advocate for your issues. I want to be able to listen to your issues. I want to be the person that people depend on. I want people to come to me and I want to be able to say, yes, I can solve your issue. And that is why I'm running for board. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Lachlan Brown. I'm a third year anthropology student here at SMU. I'm from Dartmouth and have grown up in the city basically for my whole life. I've several reasons I'm running for board, but as far as my experience, I've been involved in student organizing and nonprofit work for several years. I've worked for several national and international student organizations. I've organized national student conferences. I've worked for UNICEF, and I'm currently I'm a litigant in a national charter challenge for voting rights. So I'm very passionate about the ways in which our voices can be incorporated into our legislative models. As for SMUSA, I'm excited about student organizing and making SMUSA work better for the demands that students are having. Many people have said already tonight, societies are not working the way that people want them to work. Tuition is high, and access to employment and other resources on campus are low. And these are concerns that the board cannot completely eliminate or address, but at least help mitigate or assist in. So these are some of the things that I'm interested in this board tackling over the next year, and I hope I can be a part of it. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Dipanshi, your candidate for Board of Directors, and I'm a second year student for Commerce, and I'm an international student as well. I have been in SMU for 2 years, and I've tried my best to participate in the most I can of all the events, from starting from Bangladeshi nights to Women in Panda, for everything. And for now, I'm an exec of Indian Society, and from being a part of the event to becoming one of the execs, from attending events of the pack leaders to becoming one of that, I have seen, and I'm here. I want to advocate for students, and my campaign is engagement, student voice, advocacy, and involvement of everyone to become a better person at SMU, because you want to make your student life easier, and I'm here to help you with that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Saad. I'm a second year geology and computer science student. I've been involved with a lot of activism around the city in general, from labor organizing to food security and a lot of other initiatives that generally serve the community. My interest in running in SMUSA has been from my experience as a mature student. I'm a Muslim immigrant, first generation to Canada. I've experienced life through that lens quite a lot. I want to see changes in SMUSA, specifically in a number of constitutional changes, from the fact that it's just an aging organization that hasn't reflected the size of the institution, hasn't really grown in an organic way to reflect the needs of its current student body. And I want to see changes in.
Guys, my name is Topaz Nani, and I'm a third year biology student. I also play on the SMU men's basketball team sometimes. I do a lot of things on campus, and I'm not going to be ashamed to just read off the form so I remember everything. I'm currently serving my second year as president of the St. Mary's African Student Society, which has been the pleasure of my life. I also work as a student ambassador for the recruitment and marketing departments. And additionally, I sit on some committees on campus. I am on the Black Inclusion Strategy Working Group, and I'm also on the Sexual Prevention Initiative Committee for Athletes. So I serve on that committee as well. And then furthermore, just my last job, I am the intramurals coordinator for volleyball. So if you come to intramurals, you might have seen me for that. And then I referee basketball as well. But just why I'm running, like I've benefited from a lot of things that SMUSA does. I've had some tough weeks. I've been to the food room. You know, the Gorsbrook is my favorite place on campus. There's no doubt you've seen me there. A lot, there's a lot of good that the organization does, and good people need to continue on that work and take care of these things and to make sure they stay running efficiently. Efficiently and keep their integrity intact. But I've also faced the challenges of just being a society leader and other issues, just related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and other things like that. And I want the board to really start to address these needs efficiently and to actually see some action behind a lot of the complaints we've been hearing. So you can always ask me about questions, let me know your concerns, and you can always come and talk to me and find out more about me. Thank you.
Okay, so how we're going to do this next is, according to column 2, the first person to go is Topaz. Are you answering question 1 or not? You are? All right, I will read question 1, and then everybody who intends, if you're not answering it and your name is there, just say pass and go to the next person. Question 1, when you look at each of the SMUSA boards that came before you, what contribution, inspires you the most, and what does it inspire you to do?
Thank you. When we received this question, it was a no-brainer for me. It was last year around this time that Sheree Tan's team started the initiative of society roundtables, and there was a lot that was really burdening execs at the moment. One of the biggest things that was just causing a lot of anxiety was the membership fees that a lot of people remember. That was, pushed to Sheree and Ajay at the time, and we kind of said we really don't want to worry about that. In the smaller societies, when people see a membership fee, it might cause them to run away, decrease engagement, and all those things. So we gave it to Sheree and Ajay, and they took it to the board. And yes, I had been a society exec. I knew SMUSA very well. I still did not know about the board. But what happened is at the next board meeting, Megan Boudreau brought up the motion to eradicate the fees, and it was passed unanimously. And we received an email. It was very quick. It was probably only like 2 or 3 weeks later. And I was just like, okay, this is what the board is supposed to be. This is what the board does. And it was just so efficient. The next month too, we said that we needed a society officer. And they approved the funding for that and started the hiring process for a society officer. And that was just such a benefit to society. So it was then that I realized what the board was about. And I just want to continue in that same fashion and that same energy and just make sure that when students bring their concerns, something is actually going to happen, and not 4 months later, but as quickly as that. It was an inspiration to me. And if you elect me, I will try to live up to that. Thank you.
Thank you. You only have 30 seconds left when you do your next one. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when this question is posed, what comes to my mind isn't I'm not going to point to a specific directive, but SMUSA has historically advocated for initiatives that have just made education more accessible for students in general, whether they're disabled students in extenuating circumstances, and just provided second chances for a lot of students. These are initiatives like the Pass No Credit program or the caps that were placed on the caps on percentages on exams for how much they're worth. I want to see an expansion of programs like this, which have since last summer. There's been I can point to a specific motion for academic amnesty to pass through for certain students, which was turned down. I want to see improvements in programs like the Pass No Credit and just an expansion in general to make education more accessible to students in need.
You have 2 minutes left for your next question. you guys voted him? I have Alex Phillips being. Pardon? Okay, go ahead.
So, looking at the board of directors that were before me, I want to bring the transparency in SMUSA back. For that initiative that I want to take is to go ahead with practicing presidential performance evaluation while talking to Ashish and Tyler with about their chair experience and their SMUSA experience. I got to know that this was a practice that used to happen before. So why not bring it back? And because this is the best way to bring transparency to the students about what they're paying for and what is their association, what's the body doing for them. So if I'm sitting at the chair of board and I'm not able to advocate for the students and what I'm doing there, this is what I'm campaigning for, to be the student voice. Because if I sit in a position and I can speak for you, I will. Thank you.
You have 1:50 left. Next.
As to what has inspired me in SMUSA's past, in 2020, SMUSA had a lightning quick reaction to the pandemic and genuinely advocated on students' behalf in many, many ways. Whether this was health-related concerns, academic concerns, employment, what have you, SMUSA was there and did help. And not only that, but they continued this help later on into the sort of latter years of the pandemic. And these sort of public health crises, we know SMUSA can respond to them. And the public health crises of food insecurity, housing insecurity, employment insecurity in our communities can be responded to with a similar vigor. We know that SMUSA has the ability to act quickly when the time comes. And currently, we just need more action. SMUSA has started. We have things like the food room, stuff like that, but we do need improvement. There are still these insecurities on campus and in our broader communities, and we have the ability, and I hope to be a part of us moving quickly and efficiently towards that. Thank you.
You have 5 seconds, less than 2 minutes. Okay.
Hello again. Looking back at the board before me, I'd say they've realistically done like a fantastic job of making a lot of information more accessible, as well as the policies and reports reader friendly, because that was a big thing they were advocating for last year, and I'm glad it came to fruition. One of my personal favorite contributions that the board of last year has done was, in addition, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, it was the addition of the seasoning tray in Dockside. That might have been a small contribution for most people, but that greatly enhanced my Dockside experience. This alone inspired me to come up with solutions that are not only beneficial to students now, but are sustainable enough so it benefits everyone for generations to come. And I also want to advocate for the fact that the numerous volunteering opportunities that SMUSA offers, for some reason, people just don't know about it. I see the SMUSA website, they offer these services. The SMUSA social media does it. And I guess people, I'm not sure why they don't check, but that's something I want to advocate for. And the fact that every one of you showed up here today, it just simply shows that you care about who you're electing. But I truly believe that you don't fully learn to appreciate everything that the board and all that SMUSA has to offer. You don't truly appreciate what they did and will do for you unless you actually get involved. So that is something I'm very passionate about. That inspires me that motivates me to inspire others to just get involved. Thank you.
Okay, you have 1 minute left.
Hi. Firstly, I want to commend Topaz for his choice. I chose the same one. So in January 2024, smusa decided that they will no longer have mandatory society fees. Before that amendment, every single student when joining a society had to pay at least $5 to join that. That was an unnecessary barrier that smusa really did not need, as it was marginal to their financials and simply made a restriction and made it harder for students to get involved on campus. I like this change so much because it gave students freedom. It gave them the freedom to be able to involve in any society they would like without worrying about how that, and their involvement in that society will impact their ability to pay their tuition, to buy food, to pay their own rent. I don't think that SMUSA should ever stand in the way of student life, because I think that the point of SMUSA is to benefit student life, optimize it, and improve it in any way possible. My absolute favorite thing about this contribution is the fact that it shows that SMUSA and the board of directors can have a tangible impact on student life. Many people don't know what the board does or how they can help them. So the fact that they literally save students money and help them get more involved on campus and enjoy their time at university more, I absolutely love that. I think that it could be an issue, as many people have mentioned, that people don't know what SMUSA does, or they don't really know how to connect with SMUSA. I think that should be more of a priority to have more events where students can express their opinions with SMUSA and where SMUSA shares what's going on with students. This can be done through Q&As or student surveys. For example, on my Instagram account for my campaign, I have a survey linked to my bio which asks students questions about what they'd like to change about SMUSA and their current thoughts on it, which I think would be invaluable if SMUSA were to adopt the same policies and make sure that they were always asking students for feedback. How this contribution inspires me is it makes me want to look for more unnecessary fees that students are paying and eliminate them, save us all money, and to re-examine the society policy and ensure that we're optimizing, making sure students can be involved on campus. If I'm elected, I will make sure that all of SMUSA's policies are empowering and helping students get involved rather than restricting them like the society fee was. Thank you.
Okay, you have 54 seconds left. Yep. Is that? So you're the second last one. Is everybody answering question one? Is that what's happening? No? Okay. All right, go ahead.
So the contribution that inspired me the most was the sustainability policy that was passed by Joshua Sidney. I'm someone who's very passionate about the environment. It shows with my high school experience where I was the face of a sustainability group, and I did a lot of speaking to the school and even to the federal government of Hong Kong to talk about these issues and try to help my school the best I could. And I want to bring that here. I have a lot of big goals, but in reality, it's the small things that matter because it builds up to something big. I want to at least lay the foundations for SMU eventually becoming a plastic-free campus, and this can be done through an NGO called plasticfreecampus.org, which shows how we can do it. And currently Acadia, since 2018, has been trying to implement this. So I'm not saying I can do it, but I'm saying I can do whatever I can to implement the foundation in my time, so then eventually we can become the best school for sustainability we can be. And this has just inspired me to try to do all the things I can possibly do, even if it's just enough to build a small amount of the foundation, so eventually someone else can finish that. Thank you.
You have 1:50 left. Is that it for question one?
Pass.
Pass? Okay.
Yep.
So you guys aren't doing this correctly. So now I'm going to tell you, you made it really hard for me to do this. So when you see across the top, you'll see question, intro, 1, 2. You see the 2? The order that is under that 2 is Sad, Topaz, Alex Melendi, Alex Phillips, Ethan Stanhope. Do you see that? Okay, that's the order that you have to go in. Your name is represented by a letter on the far side. These orders are going to change a lot as we go through tonight. So you have to, for the first 9, you have the same letter, and then your letter will change on the other ones. You need to go in this order. This is actually a random order that keeps everybody getting to go first, last, in the middle, and in front of and behind different people to keep it fair. Do you understand? Because you guys did not go in that order that time. Okay, so question 2 is, This time I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read it. What would you do if someone wrote an unflattering article about the board and published in the student newspaper, or wrote an anonymous email complaining about the board? And if you don't want to answer it, then that's okay, just say so. But the first person is Saad.
All right, so SMUSA is an organization based on student participation and power. I'd encourage any kind of feedback and student participation in SMUSA's process. So if a student does publish an article about SMUSA, good or bad, I would do as much as I can to reach out to that person, talk to them, meet with them, figure out what it is the essence of their complaint is. And I'd be honored that a student is so strongly passionate about student participation and student governance. A student shouldn't have to jump to publishing an article. There should be more mechanisms within SMUSA itself to gather that feedback, to have a chance for that student to participate and actually voice their concerns and make change with it. That whether that means more referendums, more transparency, more advertising for events like this, and just more chances for active student participation in SMUSA's process. That is a change that I would wish to implement on the board of directors. Students should be more educated of what the board is, as many people here have expressed. The student body doesn't know what the board does, and SMUSA is an organization built on student power and student voice, and this foundation needs to be strengthened.
Thank you. Okay. You're going to pass? Okay. So that goes to Alex Miller.
So let's say that there's something unflattering shared with SMUSA, whether it's through social media, an article, or just a random spam email. First thing I would do is make sure I would take it seriously. A lot of people might want to just disregard it or even discipline the person sharing it, for hating on authority or governance or anything of that sort. But I think that the fault would lay on SMUSA in this scenario rather than the person who's hating on SMUSA. The point is, if someone feels that they have to go out of their way to write an email about SMUSA, to go out of their way and write an article or anything of that sort, even make a social media post, that means that SMUSA, us, is doing something wrong and we should listen to them and improve. The worst thing that we could do is ignore the issue and disregard it. We should respond to the Students Association, address it, and decide the best way to handle it by speaking with students. I think that handling issues like this, transparency is key. Students should be aware of how SMUSA is operating, because if they're aware, they're less likely to feel the need to do outlandish statements like this by writing emails and writing articles, just bashing SMUSA. If I'm elected on the board of directors, I will make sure that our board is a board that listens, responds, learns, and reacts to student feedback rather than disregarding it. Thank you.
I think that anytime you elect anybody, whether that is in any form of government, including a student government, you should be paying attention to what they are doing and you should be holding them accountable. If they are not upholding to the promises they made in their campaign, if they are not staying up to the standards that they set for themselves and that you set on them, then you can absolutely bring forward your critiques and your complaints. If you think that these things are not being addressed properly, you should be able to bring those forward. So I think if there is anything unflattering or critical written about SMUSA, about anything that I've done if I'm elected or anything that the board has done if I'm on it, that will be properly addressed. I will be fully transparent. I have written one of those articles. So I think that you need to, I will absolutely take any sort of criticism seriously and make sure that is heard and addressed properly. Because when we were at our candidate training and shown the government, how the structure of SMUSA, the student body is at the very top of it. So we are here to work for you. So if we are not working for you, then we need to be told that, and we need to be accountable for what we are not addressing properly. Thank you.
You pass on this one? Okay. So then it goes to Akshat.
All right. So if someone writes a wrong article, firstly, I will say thank you. Not because of hate, but because they cared enough to engage with us. Secondly, I will bring forward to the board and address it honestly. If we made a mistake, we should admit it. Otherwise, if there's a miscommunication, then we will move it forward. The next thing is open session, where we will bring a neutral moderator who can speak to us and the person who has his views. The next thing is training for all the board of director candidates, so they can, in the future, they can basically tackle these situations if this happens. Thank you.
We are an organization for the students. So the fact that any student ever has to go to these lengths, has to resort to writing an unflattering article or sending an anonymous email is somewhat disturbing. Clearly, we made a mistake. Clearly, we didn't hear them out when they came to us beforehand, because nobody is just going to directly write an article or send an anonymous email without stating their concerns beforehand. They felt ignored, and that's wrong. That is wrong on many, many levels, because we are not doing our job if you're not addressing them. We as a board, in this case, should address it with an open mind, and we should not take it at face value. We should look into what the core concerns are. What are they trying to say? What are they trying to convey? Because if we cannot address that, then we are not doing our job. Thank you.
If someone wrote an unflattering article about the board, my first reaction, it would be to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that they took the time out of their day to voice their concerns. Too often, many people sit quietly and complain about everything wrong with the university, the student body, but so few ever actually come forward to voice their thoughts and issues and try to make a real change. By speaking up, this person has shown initiative and a desire to see real change. Those are exactly the type of students that I would like to advocate for. My approach towards this issue, regardless if the complaint is valid or not, will be to address it and not dismiss it. I will evaluate this issue with my board members, discuss the best course of action, and obviously maintain transparency, which is key. I believe acknowledging the problem and taking action is what shows that you're a real leader. And the goal is not to silence criticism, but to encourage students to speak up. At the end of the day,
You have to wrap it up. You have 5 seconds.
we are for the students. We stand with the students. Thank you.
Okay, so that should be, no, you still have to go, Lachlan? Okay.
All right. Well, I believe journalism is a absolutely imperative part of a functioning organization like this. I encourage more people to write for the journal. If there are more unflattering articles about SMUSA, there is more knowledge about what the board is doing. We have a significant lack of this type of community engagement with the board currently. These sort of pieces help inform the student body about the issues that the board is working on, about what is going on campus. This is absolutely essential for the board to function correctly. And that also goes for constituent complaints. If someone emails anonymously that's fine. They don't have to come forward and share their name, who they are, and how their concern is relevant to their particular identity. It is enough to be a SMU student and concerned. The board should listen to you. So that being said, I would more than happily encourage more people, whether or not I get elected, to continue to do this sort of hypothetical behavior. Please write in the journal. Please pay attention to the board. That's how we make this board better. That's how we make it work for us, make it work and actually create solutions for the complaints that we all have. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. So depension, you're not doing this one. Okay. So we're down to the last question. And I don't think very many of you are going to answer this one. So how do you plan to encourage participation in SMUSA that accurately and proportionally represents the student body at SMU in such areas as on-off campus, graduate and undergraduate students, local and international, male and female, able and differently abled, Indigenous and non-Indigenous students?
Very quickly, I don't really have an action step for this besides just doing it myself. I've lived in residence. I played on the basketball team. I'm a Black student. I'm an African student. I'm a domestic student. I know domestic engagement has been very low when it comes to student government in the past few years. So my plan really is to just be engaged myself, and hopefully the people around me just become inspired, especially in athletics. Athletes really don't engage with this a lot. So it's just being myself, making sure I'm engaged, making sure I'm always being seen, being a part of these things. Thank you.
Okay, so there's 2 or 3. Yeah, go ahead.
My plan will be, first of all, bring a mediator so that they can rate our events. If our rating is too bad in 2 events, we will cut the budget. So basically, if our events are not going good, why waste the money on them? My second thing will be to do a talent hunt, which will employ students who will find talents. Then we will partner with local companies and give them employment so that students can get benefit. The third thing will be to introduce a reward system for volunteer stuff. Many of the volunteer stuff goes to CCR. Why not bring a reward system where enough points are collected that can go into your tuition reimbursement, which will help a lot of students. That's it. Thank you.
Like a lot of other people here said today, there is a lot of students at SMU that don't know what the board does. As I was also gathering a lot of my nominations, I had a lot of people ask me, so you're running for president? No, I'm not. It's for board. And I then had to explain what that is. To address the concerns of as many students as possible, I would like to see the board more actively engaged on campus and interacting with students on a daily basis. I think it would be great if SMUSA could engage more with perhaps residence life, because then you address a whole bunch of students on campus who represent a very diverse group of students. But even maybe have the board work more closely with the societies that it runs, and you can engage with the students through these societies, having societies involved with gathering feedback for the board, for SMUSA, same with reaching out to Residence Life to go get sort of feedback from residents about what can be done more and how we can be representing them more. I've heard a lot of students bring forth a lot of complaints, and I think that what's best is for the board to go and reach out to students to find where they're struggling, where their support isn't, where they aren't being supported enough. I know that there's
have that as your complete
yep.
time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I think to encourage participation, we need to really improve two things. One being awareness, especially with events. There's almost no awareness at times with events that are happening. Half the time it's just reliant on posters. Posters don't work. They do almost nothing. People will see one and then completely forget about it. I think we should do monthly pop-up tables and or handouts or utilizing the Husky mascot more just to make human interaction where people actually remember it. Especially with a Husky mascot. I know me and Ibrahim, we both dressed up as a Husky mascot. And I had people asking, why is there a Husky on campus? There's so big of a disconnect, even with our mascot and the students. And I think we can do that by just talking more, by just having more interaction with them. And then another thing is diversity. I grew up in Hong Kong. I know I don't look it, but I spent 17 years in Hong Kong. I was very excited to spend Lunar New Year here with a new community, but there was nothing for that. And I realized with a large amount of major cultural events, SMUSA does nothing. Like even with Diwali, they rely on the society to do events. In reality, SMUSA is meant to represent the entire student body. So why are we only representing like Halloween and Christmas? We should be representing every major holiday. And yeah, society should host these, but we should help them host these. We should be in partnership with societies, especially for these major cultural events. Diwali, Chinese New Year, anything like that. We represent the entire student body, not specific ones. Thank you.
Okay, so that's everybody for your voluntary questions, correct? We have two left? Okay, I don't have, hang on. Go ahead.
There is always a reason why someone is not engaging, whether it's for events, whether it's for anything, honestly. And SMUSA is doing a great job hosting events that people want to see or people want to go to. But the question comes in when we are looking at such a diverse student population, the people that are not attending, the people that are not engaging with SMUSA, why are they not engaging? And that's what I want to know. I want to see why they're not engaging and how we can make it more accessible to them. Whether it's because graduate students have different class timings than most undergraduate students, right? Whether it's that, whether it's maybe accessibility needs, see why they're not engaging and bring that to the board, bring that to the executive team so that the executive team can make the changes needed to make their events more accessible. Make it so that more students can engage with SMUSA as a whole. Thank you.
As an international student, a woman of color, and someone who lives off campus, I have personally faced the problem of not being able to engage properly with the campus events. So that helped me the engagement through events and through attending a lot of things that happening on campus. But it's not just not the events, it's communication as well. So one of my key campaign points is to become a better direct link from students to SMUSA because they need to raise their voice and we need to listen them directly, whether it's a complaint or whether it's a praise or a concern or suggestions. And other than that, what I would say is to focus on people who have accessibility challenges and cannot physically attend the event. I will advocate for more hybrid events because that will make sure that there's more participation. So, and then I would say that SMUSA exists for students and we need to make everyone feel whole. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the floor to get started. Yes? So now let's just start in, so I had it 1, 2, 3. Yes, so now we're in 4. Yes, so now we are in the 4th column. The question that has come in online is, do you have any thoughts or ideas on making the university experience more accessible? You say that you're involved in societies and events, but how do you plan on making things more accessible for students? And first is H, who is Depenchi.
Can I have the question repeated, please?
Okay. Do you have any thoughts or ideas on making the university experience more accessible? Even if you've been involved in societies and events, how do you plan on making these more accessible for more students?
Yep, I just mentioned about making the events more hybrid because people who cannot physically attend can attend online. So that's how I would say it's going to be the first start. And second will be the feedbacks. Thank you for the feedbacks, and that's what we need to make it better. So yeah, that's it.
Great. Matthew.
Can I pass?
Yep. Then we have Akshat. You have 30 seconds for these questions, by the way. Go ahead.
My plan will be to introduce as much as possible. For example, Fred Smither Center, I work for them, so I know how people are there. So I can partner with them and give them more accessibility, give them more tickets, so many more people can be engaged in the events, and that's how I'm going to solve it. Thank you.
So Alex Phillips is next.
One thing I've noticed is that a lot of events on campus happen in the evening, which is great for those of us who live on campus or live nearby. But if you live off campus, especially if you're taking the bus an hour or more to get home at the end of the day, maybe having more things in the afternoon would make things more accessible for off-campus students. But also I think having maybe some more like low sensory, more calming type events would be great for those who cannot who do not enjoy very like bright lights, lots of talking, loud noise.
That's your 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, quickly, one of the things that VP Society's done this semester is that Roundtable is on a different day every single month, like a different day of the week and a different time. I think when it comes to board meetings, I know it's going to be challenging balancing 9 schedules, but I also love doing that model just so that if somebody works Wednesdays every single week, you know, they're not missing it every single month. Or things like that. And then when it also just comes to board events, just making sure that they're live streamed and that link is really pushed on our social media channels and by email as well. And that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sad.
I'm just going to reiterate a lot of what Topaz said. There's more we can do to have SMUSA actually push events out, make people aware of them. In terms of just making it accessible to people who aren't typically available, who aren't typically able to attend these events, the first thing to do is to engage with them, see what they need, and see what we can do to improve events.
Thank you. Alex.
So my experience in societies this year has taught me that there are a lot of things that make students have difficulties interacting and going to events. There are 2 things I'd focus here. I'd focus on decreasing the amount of fees that we provide for when students are attending events, making them more accessible. And I would focus on increasing remote options so the students who are off campus can actually participate in more and don't have to, do 30 minutes of bus transit in order to attend events. Thank you.
So something I would do as a street team member, I noticed there's a lot of events collusion, especially with SMUSA and different societies. I'd want to create a shared calendar where societies can put their events and SMUSA can put their events. So then we have more events throughout the week instead of just all of them being on Wednesday. Like genuinely, most of the events have been on Wednesdays. Why is that? We should have a more variety and people can go to more if there's every day there's an event. And that would be possible if societies and SMUSA know when the events are.
Okay, so Kevia, yeah.
So one thing, as Dipanshi mentioned, make like events more hybrid as well, and also online events as well. However, one thing we need to consider is that not everyone is going to be able to attend every event, however accessible you make it. So making certain events in such a way that, they cater to certain different groups so that everyone does have at least one event that they're able to actively attend that is accessible to them. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions in the room? Okay, Nidhi? Oh, sorry, Lachlan still has to go. You're right. I see you.
Yeah, as to accessibility, there's a number of things. I'm a student with a disability, so I've run up to this challenge many times. As far as sort of physical accessibility, even in the last ice storm, we were having a lot of issues with snow clearing on campus. That is preventing people from coming to events. We also have a lot of sort of bureaucratic issues with getting events off the ground, which makes promoting and creating more accessible events more difficult for all students, regardless of the society. So I would like to see a increase in ease of running events for these
That's your
societies.
time. Okay. I apologize. Yes, that was it. So I asked Nidhi had her hand up, and then we're gonna go with you gentlemen in the back, and then guy with the vest on and beard. Okay. I'll do three at a time. Go ahead. Okay, so the question is, what does governance mean to you? And the first person is G, who is Lachlan. I will give you guys a minute for this one because I think it's hard to do that in 30 seconds. Okay, go ahead.
There's many different systems of governance, particularly as it relates to SMUSA. This is an organization designed or purportedly designed to help students with their issues. In this particular context, governance is a system in which we represent the desires of students for this particular university. We want to make this university better. We're all here for 4, 6 years, whatever, right? And not to mention all of the communities around us, alumni, staff members, right? So our job as a governmental board at SMUSA is to help the students. And that should be reflected in the policies and systems that we enact and utilize for our governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Evia.
So for me, governance is like making sure that we stay on tracks, making sure that the SMUSA as the organization makes the right decisions for the students. And for that, I have 3 things that frame it. First is staying focused and having a clear purpose. Making sure we know what we're doing is affecting students, knowing that our decisions are going to affect students and they're supposed to be made for the students. And those effects should be positive. Staying focused on that is important. Second is holding the executive team accountable and making sure that everyone is doing their job. And the biggest thing that the board does is setting the tone for the organization. We are making the policies. We are determining how SMUSA is going to operate. And if we don't do it right, if we don't do it with the best interests of the students in mind, then thank you.
Okay.
For me, governance means serving the people. It doesn't mean blindly serving them. We're not listening to what you say and then immediately implementing it without anything in consideration. We have to serve you and do whatever is best for the people, especially in this context, but in context in general. Governance is meant to serve people and support people instead of just blindly following what they say or for your own gain. It's for other people's gain. So that's what I'm just going to try to do, is make sure everyone feels represented, because we're meant to represent the entire student body, not just specific people. So my job in governance would be to support the entire student body. Thank you.
So what governance means to me is representing the entire student body and doing their best to help the entire student body. As St. Mary's University Student Association on the board of directors, we are the voice of students. The reason that there even is a board is so that we don't have to make around 6,000 students meet up and talk about their issues. They're communicated to the board, they're communicated to the SMUSA executive team, and we direct SMUSA based off of that. I think that governance in this context means representing the interests of the entire student body, making sure everybody's voice is heard, and helping students and improving student life in any way that we can. I think that the board's operations should clearly reflect this goal. Thanks.
Governance to me means making student life easier and by being fair to them, being transparent and them knowing that what are we doing for them, because they need to know. Governance is not just being there, it's showing them that what are we doing for them. So governance is about being there for the students and advocating for them and their rights and their voice.
I believe governance is the act of not only being in a position where you can genuinely represent and help students, but being in a position where you can act as a microphone, where you can project the voices of students that address their concerns to you, to the proper stakeholders that will actually advocate for this change. Thank you.
For me, governance means making SMUSA run perfectly. Students are above BOD. We aren't above students. So we have to make sure that the president and the executives does their work right. If they are not doing the work right, we are to be responsible. Governance is making sure that the students' voice is heard. We will bring solution, but is the solution the best interest of us so we can be satisfied, or is the best interest of the students so they can be satisfied in the long and short run as well? Thank you.
Governance to me is about being able to make change based on the people that we are representing. So we are here representing students at St. Mary's, and all of the changes and things that I want to implement are based on the concerns of the students and the things that they have brought to me and that I have heard around campus. It's not about making change that is just out of the blue because I think it's a good idea. It's about what is going to be better for the student body. And it is about sort of working together to make the right choices for St. Mary's and SMUSA.
If there's anything that my time in the university has taught me, is that governance, the candidates are all saying good things, but governance is actually really messy. It's really biased. Sometimes it's really inefficient. Sometimes it's also just, about self-preservation and about the institution, and it's not about humans. But the high school I went to, our motto was Terardum Prosum, which is what I was raised on. And it roughly translates to, may I be consumed in service. So what I hope that my tenure in the board will be is that it will be service to the students. I want to fight the good fight for all of you from a position where I actually have ground to stand on, because I fought the good fight with no ground to stand on with some people in this room. So I know what it is. I know what students need. I know the issues that matter to myself, that matter to a lot of people in the room. So my tenure would just be about service, and I just plan to serve the student body. Thank you.
So governance to me is fighting through how messy, how unhuman centric, and and creating systemic change to try and reflect the values and the needs of the people you are representing, whether that's through creating policies or fighting against policies against students, creating policies that reflect what students need, and organizing against things that will impact students negatively.
Thank you. Okay, I told you guys who was next. Who was it? You were next. Yep, go ahead. Oh, you got a mic coming your way. And then I said who was after him. Who was it? It's the guy. So make sure that you get the mic next so we don't have this wait in between. Okay.
Hello. So my question would be, if the administration strongly opposes a policy that benefits a student, like let's say the PNC, which was reduced to 3 from 4, or let's say SMU works being revoked for students, which provided jobs to students on campus, how would you be willing to challenge the government or administration publicly? And how would you push them back while ensuring your stance remains effective for the students?
Okay, I'm going to paraphrase the question, which is, if the university administration proposed a policy that was disadvantageous to students, how would you deal with them or represent students to make sure that it changed? Is that correct? Close enough? Okay. So for this one, we start with Ethan.
Like
You
I
get
said,
1 minute on this one. Okay.
like I said with the governance thing, the governance question, my role is to serve the students. If there's something that does not benefit the students, I will stand strongly opposed against that. I don't have any individual power, but I will do everything in my very limited individual power to defend the students and try my best to stop it from being opposed. Or if it's something good that they're trying to revoke, I would do everything in my power to stop it from being revoked. It's my job to serve the students. So if it benefits the students, it needs to stay on, or if it doesn't benefit the students, it shouldn't be accepted. Thank you.
Lachlan is next.
All right. As to a policy that would be sort of disadvantageous for the student body, I think SMUSA should partner with other organizations on campus like SMUFU, the faculty union, or CUPE, which represents part-time faculty. We need to bargain as a school when these policies come in. We have never had in the history of SMU a vote of no confidence in our administration of 98%. That was the faculty union. There is potential for us interacting with these other organizations on campus to fight back against this sort of administrative overreach and this stuff that hurts students, those who this university is supposed to be for, us and the people who work for it. And so we are quite evidently on the same side, us and the people who work for it. And so this type of solidarity can be created. And I believe it is the job of this incoming board to create that solidarity with these other organizations on campus.
At your time.
Okay, thank you.
I think protecting students from hostile policies and from the policies passed by the administration is one of the primary functions of the board of directors. We are the collective power of the students. We as an organization are supposed to, we were created to protect students from this kind of problem. Whether that's partnering, as Lachlan said, whether that's partnering through SMUFU, through other advocacy organizations, through actually standing against the policies that affect us, that is the function of the board, and that is something that we would do together in representing students.
Thank you.
Yeah, my job on the board is to serve students, like hands down, regardless. The student interest is my interest, and that's the only thing I care about. But when it comes to practical things, when it's the students against the university, the institution, it's like David versus Goliath. We can feel really small, right? But if anyone was here yesterday, Dr. John Gillis told a really great testimonial of how when he was in medical school, they said as a resident doctor, they would have to start paying tuition, for being in residence, even though they're already working, right? But he said he went to every member of the board and spoke to them like individually and got them to change their mind. So I think that is a great tactic to adopt. Luckily, I already have a rapport with a lot of some of the big names on campus through other committees, but that is kind of the tactic and strategy I will use. Like talk to these people individually,
You're right.
talk to them in person and not just through emails.
As stressed by multiple individuals, I would, if I truly believe that is something good and it would benefit the students, I will genuinely, with all the power that I have, fight for it. Even if the policy doesn't pass, I will have an individual conversation with them, as Topaz stated. I would partner with other committees, other departments as well, like Olakman said, and I would genuinely make sure that this policy is passed. If it's something that the students want, it is what the students will get, because we are for the students, with the students. Thank you.
So if there was a policy that strongly benefited student life at SMU and university administration decided to oppose it, here's how I would respond to the situation. Firstly, St. Mary's University, especially with students, is a democracy. It's not just the board of directors and SMUSA who's leading it. If you look at the actual hierarchy chart of SMUSA and of the students at SMU, the students are at the top. The students are the ones deciding. You are the ones voting this election. You choose your team. You choose who is leading SMUSA. And I think that student voice would be the most important thing here. So if I disagreed with the university administration's action and thought that whatever policy it was would benefit students, I would let students share their voice to do so. I would reach out to the SMU Journal and say that if they'd like to, they can write an article promoting the topic and hearing people's opinions. And I would go around campus surveying people and prove that students support whatever policy or movement it is, and prove that if this many students are in favor of it, I don't think the administration should oppose it. Thank you.
To represent the student voices is exactly what we are sitting on the board for. So if there's something that's actually beneficial for the students of SPU, we would definitely present a good case towards the board and show that this is what the student needs, as a proper case and research that this could be done. If not, then we will take a feedback from them and come back again the next time with a better research article or a case that if not this, then this should be done. Because if it's a betterment of SPU, we should do that. Thank you.
If a policy that is for the students, that benefits the students, that is helping so many students, like the pass no credit policy mentioned, then it needs to stay. So if the organization, the university is trying to eradicate it, we need to advocate for it. And that's what SMUSA will do. The board has policies like such, like the pass no credit. It's made by the academic senate, and the SMUSA has a seat on the academic senate to advocate for students. And that power, it will be used for the students. We as a student have a lot of power that we don't realize. As Alex mentioned, we are at the top of the hierarchy. Students are at the top. So advocacy, collaboration, these are things that we will be able to do, and that's what we will do. Thank you.
Basically, short answer is just you keep fighting back. Recently, SMU has tried to introduce or is trying to introduce a $100 fee to apply to graduate, and you keep fighting back. If something is unfair towards the students, you gather the opinions of the students. You prove to the administration how many students are opposed to this. I agree with Saad and Lachlan, partner with the faculty. It is not the administration that makes SMU, it is the students that make SMU. We are the ones paying tuition. We are the ones coming here for an education. This university is for us. So you keep fighting back if something is unfair against you.
So if SMU is opposing something which we propose, I would suggest finding an alternative. Let's say the tuition increase. It has been increasing 5% every year. The alternate solution can be scholarship, whereas we keep fighting for it. As Kavya mentioned about the advocacy seat in the Senate, we will use that power and we will make sure that the voice is heard, not today, not tomorrow, but maybe day after tomorrow. Thank you.
No, I already said who got them next three. So
how will you ensure that the president and the VPs are best supported to serve the students?
okay, did you get that? How will you ensure that the president and the VPs are best supported to support the students? And first up, we have Topaz.
Well, first off, it's just building a lot of good rapport. We have 4 months where students aren't really around before the student body arrives on campus. And that's really just building a strong team, strong connection. I do believe that the board needs to meet more times, especially during the summer in those preparation months, and get things situated, create a very firm foundation for the year. And just kind of giving the smusa exec team like a freer hand when it comes to budgets, but holding them accountable when it comes to actual like actions and policies and things like that. So thank you.
Residential performance evaluation is exactly what will make sure of the students will get the transparency that what is the president up to, and we'll get a check of what things are done and what are up to and what are the ones that are just in the air. So that's exactly what is required, and that will make sure that the president is up to the words. Thank you.
I think just keeping the board open to so the president and the VPs feel safe, bringing issues that students have brought up to the board, making sure we hear them out, suggest things, vote on issues, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that the board appointments are a very significant thing that the SMUSA operates. I think that if we were to make the process a little bit more public, of course, we're using Robert's Rules of Order during the appointments in the actual board meeting, but to have more student consultation on who's representing the VP of Academia or, sorry, VP of Academics or the VP of Events or whatnot would be extremely beneficial both for the board and the student body at large. Thank you.
First, I want to acknowledge that no one is perfect. In order for us to cultivate that relationship with the execs and the board and the president, I would say definitely increase the frequency of the amount of meetings that we have, and that would lay the groundwork of everything that we were supposed to do. And yeah, that's it.
I think it begins with knowing where they need the support, where are they struggling. And for that, we need to have an open channel of communication between the board and the execs so that they feel free to come to us and be like, okay, I need help with this. I'm struggling with this. I don't understand this. And these students brought this concern. So how can I help them? We need to know that. And for that, first, we will have to establish an open channel of communication. And then we can help them in every place that they need help. We can provide that support based on what their needs. Thank you.
So in order to keep the executives accountable, the first thing is board has the power to remove them. I mean, that's the fear that the executives know and we do. So that's the thing. And also, no policy gets approved without getting the approval of the board. So that's the way we can hold them accountable and also having a conversation with them. Thank you.
So I think the best way to support anyone is just constant communication. It's not just about, yes, the meetings should be increased. I do fully agree with that. It's been brought up a lot. I fully agree with that. We do need more meetings. However, we don't have to only talk to them during meetings. We can talk to them outside of that time. We shouldn't only be available for a meeting. We should be available the entire time to help. And I think constant communication will build up a rapport of its own. You just need to talk and explain and try to figure things out and help them whenever you can. Just constant communication will help that.
Alex Phillips.
There is plenty of time between us being elected and the school year starting for us to build a foundation of trust and communication, making sure that we understand their roles and that they understand ours. And just like everybody else has been saying, keeping lots of communication open. We need to be able to trust each other, to work with each other, and to ask questions where they're necessary.
Here's how I would ensure that the board makes sure that the SMU's executive team is best supported to represent the students. I would approach supporting the executives the same way we approach supporting students, with transparency and communication. With transparency, I think that we should always be very open with the SMUSA executive team and have them informed of our operations. And we should keep them updated of everything we're up to so that there's nothing that contradicts each other between our operations and theirs. That ties into communication, which many people have already touched on. I think that we should meet with them more often, which means
Okay, so before we go back to the room, and Angelica, you can pick the next two people and get them queued up so you can hand them to them. Try to get people who weren't here last night, who did get a question, didn't get to ask a question last night, and some new voices. In the interim, I'm going to read a couple of questions off the Zoom feed, if that's okay. So the first question is, at convocation, there is normally a line of flags representative of where graduating students came from. Since I arrived at the university, I've not seen a Russian flag or any East European country flag represented at any of these events, despite there being students coming from these nations. How would you, as a board, speak on my behalf to the president to make sure they advocate for representation for all students? This is a 30-second question, and our first person is Akshat.
So mentioning about flags, I have been to MSVU, they have a lot of flags. Also Cape Breton University, they have a lot of flags. President somewhat knows that they are advocating for all the students as a whole. So if there's, let's say, a Russian student who feel they are not enough advocated for, I will make sure that the thing is heard to president himself and to the board as well. So everyone is aware, and that's all. Thank you.
Ethan, yep.
So it goes back to one of my points with, I want to represent the entire school body. I want to represent everyone, and I think that's best done through events. It's always nice that your home country's event is being put on by your school government. So I think like major country events, people should bring them up, and we can try to implement them and do everything we can to have these major events that are important to you happen at SMU, because everyone deserves to feel important at SMU. Thank you.
Thank you for the person to bring me that concern, because everyone needs to feel represented and needs to feel like home here, because SMU is for everyone. And Russia, as the person said, also needs to be there, because the issue is being brought, so we can discuss with the president and make sure that this is included. And if it's for some reason it cannot be, you can advocate about it and make sure that the change happens and everyone feels included. Thank you.
So the first thing is, thank you for bringing this to our attention, of course, but in this case, bringing it to the university administration's attention, pointing out that, okay, you said you were going to do this, you're not doing it. When are you going to start doing it again? And okay, it might not sound as professional, but bugging them to make sure that they do it, sending emails, constantly being like, hey, do it, do it, do it. And that's what I would do for sure.
To answer that question specifically, so the people who handle the flags at the university is the registrar's office. So to the person that asked that, if you contact Heather Haroon and ask her if the school does have a Russian flag, then you can make sure that is shown at the next graduation, or if it's Santa Marian ceremony or whatever it is. And if they don't have a flag and aren't supporting that from any reason, then of course that's where the board and the VP advocacy can step in and try and find a way for that to exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say a similar thing, that this is an administrative problem. And as I mentioned earlier, SMUSA's board of directors is here to help students advocate for their needs to the administration, as well as to outside organizations and the like. So I would say that this student should continue to bring this point up if it concerns them, and the board should hopefully listen to their concerns. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the exact process. You had an issue, you brought it forward to the board, or to the debate here, but Topaz has mostly answered the question. This is through the registrar. If there's any further issues in getting that resolved, you would bring this forward to the board and we'd make sure that it's solved.
I believe that the issue of someone not feeling represented by SMU or SMUSA is simply a result of a lack of communication. This example displays a student who doesn't feel represented, yet SMUSA or administration isn't even aware. This is the fault of SMUSA, not of the student. In this case, we should prioritize communication between SMUSA and students. And in order to do this, we could survey students more often and have more Q&A sessions. By constantly asking students what they want and how we can help them, we can prioritize and make sure that we're representing the entire student body and making sure that nobody feels left out by administration. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. I do believe that, actually, I didn't know that it was a registry problem, but I'm glad that it was brought to the board, and we will make sure that your voice is advocated for. And I believe you should be the change that you want to see. So if we can potentially help you start a Russian society or in that sort, make sure you're properly advocated for, make sure you're represented, because everyone here deserves to feel like they're advocated for and represented, and just to feel like home. Thank you.
I believe that those who do not feel like they're being represented at SMU should absolutely have their voices heard and brought forward. So if you don't feel like you're being represented by SMU, bring that to the board and tell us in what areas you don't feel like you are being represented. So if it's an issue with flags at graduation, we can work maybe alongside with those who are planning convocation to make sure that your flag is there, make sure that you are feeling represented. If it's in the classroom, if it's within societies or just on campus in general, like we want to support you the best that we can. So if you are not being represented, please come to us and we will address that as much as we can.
Ms. Angel, have you got someone else that you're going to give the mic to? Okay.
So if you are elected and become a board member, what will be your first action in September in your meeting to implement at the school?
Okay, everybody got the question? If you get on the board, what's the first thing you're going to do in September? We're in question 9. We start with Kevia.
So when I decided to run for board, one of the reasons was like I was going through policies that the board has, and I saw there were so many things that were not updated, that were not kept up with. There were so many things that needed to be written differently or changed in the policies. And the policies are also rather confusing, especially for society policy and such. So the first thing that I would want to do is make sure that the policies are updated, that they're written properly and such, so that when students want to learn about anything and they go to see like, okay, what's the
That's
policy?
your time.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Okay. Remember, you have 30 seconds on this, okay?
The very first thing that comes in my mind is student engagement. I haven't been personally engaged with any board members. I have seen students not getting enough engaged. So the first thing is student engagement so they can know board more. Like many students don't even know what board is. Like some mentioned that they ran for the board and people are like, are you running for president? That's not a great thing to know. Thank you.
I believe that in order for it to happen on September, we have the 4 months before September to discuss these issues with our board members. And I believe that the first thing that we could possibly implement, that we could do ourselves, is just go out, go in the hallways and just talk to people. Ask them what issues they're facing, what needs to be advocated for, what they're underrepresented for, and in that manner, just make sure you're out there. Thank you.
Yeah, so SMUSA's constitution has scarcely been updated since 1967 and hasn't reflected the size of the institution and the changes we need to make it reflect its current state. There is specific amendments I would want to make to the constitution. I want the organization to grow and to actually be more proportional to the amount of students we have. I would like more board directors members for a specific thing. And I would love to see an adoption of a constitution that more reflects student values.
I do agree with Saad that the Constitution needs to reflect the student body and how much SMU and SMUSA have grown over the last, 20, 30, 40 years. But another thing would be to help expedite the society process, just to make things a lot easier for societies very early in the first semesters. There's a lot that are being ratified. There are a lot that are trying to get a lot of events out there. So just to help make that easier for societies going forward so early in the year.
I would start by making sure that students know what the board is here for, what they chose us here for, because they need to know what the SMUSA board of directors do for them. That will make it easier for them to drop their feedbacks directly and for us to implement them. Secondly, I've made sure that I want to make sure, I'm sorry, that there are more hybrid events and everyone should get the opportunity to engage in everything that SMUSA provides for them. Another one, as I said, the presidential evaluation that will help student getting more engaged exactly, and communication being more between board
That's your
and
time.
president. Thank you.
The true answer is that just get to know the team, get to know, build a rapport with the other board members, define roles, committees, and everything like that. If we can get in the SMUSA office and clean it, we'll do that as well. But when it comes to policy, the first thing I would probably be interested in tackling is just looking through the Constitution and all the policies and finding why exactly we can't speak about global issues, and doing everything in my power to reverse that, so we can start to address the global issues that matter to students. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I agree with Saad and Alex that there needs to be significant constitutional amendments to SMUSA's constitution, given that it does not reflect the current makeup of the student body or the size. Additionally, I'd like to see an expansion immediately of food programming on campus, as the latest studies have shown food bank usage increasing 60–70% in this part of the world. So we need a drastic change in our program delivery. Thank you.
So I've been very passionate about making sure that the board earns the compensation that they receive from students. There would be two parts to this, and this would be my first priority in September to change as soon as possible. Firstly, I would decrease the compensation for the board of directors and make sure to reallocate some of those funds towards student services. This would ensure that the board operates primarily for the students and not out of self-interest at all. To further make sure that the board earns the compensation coming out of our pockets, I would increase the frequency of committee meetings. The current minimum required
That's your
meetings
time.
is 2.
So for me, I think the most urgent change that I'd want to make is with the international welcome. I've had quite a few international students talk about how inadequate it is, and how they've gotten in trouble with the police because they didn't know certain laws existed. And that's just unfair. We need to make the transition as smooth as possible. And I would also like to start introducing more sustainability, more stuff to the sustainability policy, because it was last amended in 2012. That's way too long. There's way more information about how we can be more sustainable now. Thank you.
Where's Angelica? Okay, you've got someone there. We are trying to hear from people who we haven't heard from in the future. Just keep that in mind.
So today we've heard a lot about transparency. So my question would be, how exactly do you plan on keeping the student body informed about the decisions you make as a board? And what role does the president play in that communication?
Okay, you guys all have the question? If you'll see, we've moved on now to column 11, and note that the alphabet has changed. So first up, we have Topaz.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
She said, how would you ensure that the students are kept up to date, and how your decisions are communicated transparently to the students? And do you see a role for the president in that?
For sure. Great question. 100%. The board of director meeting minutes, making sure that they're complete, up to date, posted, and it is advertised when they are posted on the social media channels, through emails and everything like that. Also, just the president's report. That also needs to just have more content. It needs to have more details. It needs to have more structure. So just holding the president accountable to the president's report, make sure things that are elaborated and actually explained, and then just get that out to students once we have it. Thank you.
Yeah, so making meeting minutes and the president's report more accessible, more readable to people of differently abled would be important. Also, just advertising events like this more in advance, more broadly, so more people attend. The president can obviously communicate with students directly doing the daily operations, just trying to get the word out as much as possible. Yeah.
Depenshi?
And then both the president and the board works for the students. So if we go together and come to the conclusion, the mutual goals, because it's different approaches but the same goal. If we work together and stay at the same direction, then we might help students, making sure that the voice that they raised is heard and the action that they want is brought. And about being transparent, the board of director meetings are all posted, so you can definitely read and know that what happened in the meeting if you could not attend. So that's a great way to stay transparent to the students. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to see more communication between SMUSA and other campus organizations like the faculty union, because other than other students, the people that we interact with most are our professors, and they are wonderful at disseminating information to us. So we need to have as many possibilities for information dissemination to make sure we have transparency on the board. But one significant lacking piece of the puzzle is involving our faculty in this process of knowledge dissemination, and so that more students, every student, can get a chance to hear what we're up to. Thank you.
I believe that every time there's a meeting, it should be recorded and posted. I really like what SMUSA did on YouTube. They posted the forums and the debates of this year, no, last year and the year before. But I believe that what about the meetings that are happening behind the scenes with the board directors, along with the presidents and the executives? I feel like that should be another way to be more transparent for the students. Thank you.
If I were elected onto the board of directors, here's where I would make sure that students are informed, and here's the role that the president would play in that. Firstly, I would prioritize in-person, face-to-face interactions. Remote interactions from SMUSA are less effective, such as social media and emails. Going up to someone on campus, getting in their face, having an actual conversation with them is much more effective. The role that the president would play in that, as the representative and the face of SMUSA, the president would be handling a lot of the communication in person. So the president could be walking around, surveying students, handing out posters, just having conversations with them in order to communicate what SMUSA is doing and keep students as informed as possible. Thank you.
For transparency, for SMUSA to be transparent, the first thing that needs to be done is people need to know what SMUSA does and what to expect. And to make sure that the board is transparent, the board meetings are public. So we need to increase engagement with the students. We need to spread the word that, hey, we're having board meetings. You should attend. You should see what we're talking about. You should know what's going on in SMUSA. And the meeting minutes should be updated at all times. And as for the president's role in it, the president should be spreading the word. They're the face of SMUSA. They should be going around campus telling
time.
people. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so there's a couple things I think I should mention here. One is going through some of the policy things. A lot of them stated we need to you're going to release this part to the students. For example, the sustainability. They mentioned they're going to have sustainability reports annually released to the students. Either it's way too hard to find or it doesn't exist, because I couldn't find anything in my research. Another thing that was mentioned last night by Lisa was pop-up tables with the VPs or the executives and the president there. I think that is a very good idea. I think public tables are one of the best ways to inform students. And I think we should do that. It shouldn't just fall into the president. People don't know what board members do. They should
That's
also
your
be there.
time.
Thank you.
The first thing will be one-on-one interaction. Let's say Instagram post and email. That is the two things. We get a lot of email every day, and we check it because it might be from a professor. So my idea is also to make board more interactive with the students. The boards go to the students, not the executives, not the president, but they themselves, they engage with them, educate students so they have an interest to know what board does. They have public meetings so students can come. I would expect a lot of students coming. So
That's your time.
So the board meeting minutes and the president's report are posted on the SMUSA website about every month. And while those are there and they're very helpful to see, not many people actually know they're there or not many people check them. So I think it would be very good to have, first of all, more detail in those reports, but also to maybe just post the reports on the social media pages. To have a SMUSA newsletter where these reports are sent to all of the students so that they can more easily access these reports, as well as, you know, any upcoming events, just to have some nice, so that like more than just on the website, we need to be
That's your
engaging with the
time.
students more.
Okay. Okay, where's Angelica? Oh, okay. Well, between you and Angelica, you need to pick two more people and that's it, because it's 9:17. So you pick one, Angelica picks one, and then we're done. Okay?
So historically, societies that represent subsects of students on campus have been held on a tight leash by SMUSA, implicitly from a representational perspective and a liability perspective to protect from the risks of reputational damage. My question is, are you in favor of more united but stifled SMUSA society's environment, or a looser, more reputationally risky one?
Everybody got that question? Okay. First up, we have Alex Phillips.
I was wondering if you could like elaborate a little bit more on what you mean. I just need to understand the question a bit more.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do that for you.
Okay.
And we're gonna start you again. Just give me half a second. Okay, so I'm gonna paraphrase and you nod if I get it right, and you do this if I get it wrong. Okay. Are you in favor of SMUSA continuing its policy of having all of the societies managed within the SMUSA reputational risk category? Or would you prefer that the societies have more autonomy and are not covered by SMUSA's risk management strategy? Is that what you're asking? Okay, did you get that? All right, does everybody else understand it? Okay, you get 30 seconds on this one.
I would love to see societies be a little bit more autonomous under SMUSA. I think that societies should be allowed, especially ones who are cultural societies and representing other groups on campus, should be allowed to speak on events that are important to them, to speak on matters that are important to them, and shouldn't have to worry about facing any sort of backlash for that. So I think they should be more autonomous.
As a society which has a history of people stealing money and running away with it, I definitely think the CERM form process and just having an accountable, a body to be accountable to is important. Having the VP societies is important. It just comes to the board to just assess like what risk is good risk and what risk could actually harm the institution. When it comes to things like controversy or polarizing issues and that societies want to advocate for or talk about, I see that as good risk, and I would want to lose hands for society to do things like that. But when it comes to operational things, no.
Yeah, so I would love to see societies be a little bit more autonomous as well. Obviously, that comes in the balancing act. You can't have a society without any oversight whatsoever. But I do think the certain form for process, for example, can be more efficient. There's been a number of complaints about that this year that society leaders have had. And there's obviously more efficiencies we can have as societies can be more autonomous and still be held accountable for their actions.
Depenshi.
Yes, I
know,
do
it's-
believe societies should be more autonomous because they should be allowed to express their individuality, express themselves, their traditions as well, and without the cause of facing repercussions. I think this is what truly makes us united as students, is the way that we are able to be ourselves. Thank you.
So it was Dupenshi's turn, so she's going to take that. Okay.
I am myself a part of a society, and I think boards should not have any control over that because that's again, the society is representing a nationality, a culture, a subject that they're most interested in. So board should have no control because they all the members sitting on the board do not know what the society is about, but the society themselves. So board can have gender rules, but not cannot get indulged and be like, okay, you need to do this and not that. So that's why. Thank you.
All right, I'm absolutely in favor of a looser, more autonomous policy as it relates to societies. I would love to see the sort of overreach that makes it so many societies can't run events fall by the wayside. Additionally, I would love to see promotion of more ad hoc societies that are not necessarily incorporated through SMUSA. Students can run events and students can organize themselves without the administrative body of SMUSA. So I would love to see a method that or handbook or something that can enable students to organize these societies or clubs outside of the confines of SMUSA if it is not possible within.
Time.
I'm absolutely in favor of a more autonomous and freedom-based system for societies. I believe that at a space level, societies benefit student life. And if we're restricting societies, we're making it harder for students to have events that benefit the students. The point of the societies is to improve student life and help students. I think we should give them more freedom and more opportunities to make it easier for them to benefit students, help them interact, and make more friends on campus. Thank you.
I'm all for an increase in the autonomy for societies. However, we do need to keep in mind that there has to be a balance between freedom and following regulations. Because if we let everyone run free and do whatever they want, then that is not actually in the best interest of students because it could be harming one group while benefiting the other. So yes, there should be more autonomy. However, there should also be regulations.
Societies are not my biggest knowledge too, but I do think more autonomy won't do any slightly more autonomy. There needs to be control because I think SMUSA should take the fall if things happen. I think there should be some regulations to make sure things stay controlled. I don't think it should be absolute control though. I would love to see more connection with SMUSA and the societies, especially cultural societies with events. As I said before, I want more cultural events that SMUSA has a part of, so we actually represent the student body. I'd like to see more togetherness with that instead of just one on top of the other. Thank you.
And Akshat is the last one.
I do agree that society should have autonomy. We have more than 70 society. The big society like commerce have their own constitution, so they know what they are doing. On the other hand, SMUSA should be somewhat accountable, because what will be the role of VP societies then? So like even the society, they want to bring a small society fee so that the particular student can get the most benefit out of it. Also, SMUSA offers 2,500 to each society.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Okay, Simon and Angelica, have you picked your last person? Okay.
Hi. So success in SMUSA by different administrations has been measured very differently. Some have focused on like financial profits and returns, others on feedback of a small group of students, some people on social media growth and impressions. How will each of you measure success of your administration if you are part of the BOD? And what concrete metrics will you actually use to ensure that all students, not just a select few, are actually benefiting from your leadership?
Okay, you get 1 minute for that. And first up is Akshay.
To answer the question, BOD is divided into 4 committees: HR, societies, finance, and one more I forgot. So each committee has their own set of people, even the executives, who make sure that those are correct. To tackle the problem, we will make sure that the policies and the committees are accountable to students. Like if you have any problem, come to me. On the website, it's written what BOD member is for part of which committee. Come to us, talk to us. We will make sure the best solution comes to you. Thank you.
I would love to have more feedback coming from students about SMUSA. So I would love to have the president or one of the VPs have, like others have been saying, these pop-ups to receive feedback from students and to send out forms from students to the students to receive feedback about how we are doing, about the policies that we're making, about the events that we're hosting, and just everything that we're doing as a board and as SMUSA. I think the success is measured by the engagement from the student body and from how the people are feeling about what we're doing. The more feedback that we're getting, the more we can see how successful our changes are being, how successful the policies are being, and we want to make sure that we are asking the people that are directly being affected. So just seeing who we need to reach out to based on whichever changes we're making.
I think the only way that's efficient is if it's measured holistically. So yes, the financial part of it doesn't, I mean, it does matter. Like I do not want to see SMUSA in a deficit. I will obviously hope for the organization that they're making money to do bigger and better things, but also just student opinion. Even a glaring or a very obvious way to just gauge the success of a committee is just the atmosphere of the following election. You know, the like what is the atmosphere, what is the tone of the students during the next election? That's a huge key indicator. It's been a huge key indicator today and yesterday, you know, so that is a huge thing. Obviously, Lachlan touched on this before, but getting into spaces where faculty are giving their opinions and are working with faculty, working with athletics, working with admin, the SMG, the EMG, what has been the total you know, satisfaction rate? What has been all the key indicators for success, just all across the board? It has to be a holistic thing. Thank you.
So a lot of the changes I want to make are going to be constitutional and are going to require referendum votes. So in terms of anything, any of the changes I want to make, I want to lay the groundwork for SMUSA to be more of a organization that represents student power and student voice. So in that, just more programs that are taking student voice into account, votes that are having large student turnout. So concrete metrics for me would be more the percentage of the student population we're able to bring out and engage, bring out to actually vote and actually make decisions based on to help make us make decisions based on student needs.
As mentioned by Akshay, there are 4 different committees inside the board, which help to make sure that all the different factors are marked, and there's someone called the chair to make sure that all of the goals are reached. And we should definitely make sure that we have a succession plan and evaluate the plans that we made before and check them that if they are in the certain direction, going in the right direction or not. As well as we should always make sure that the student voice is heard and whatever the students required and the need in action is made sure that that there's some action taken for that. Thank you.
Papa boots are a must for Papa boots, yes, just to make sure your face is out there and people know that you're running for, you are on the board and you're there to advocate for people. Definitely, sorry. A solid metric that would be to gauge the success of that is the increase in percentage of the engagement. How many people come to vote, come to see the debates? How many people come to different events? And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
It was Lachlan's turn, and oh, sorry. That's the second time that's happened, but it's definitely it was Lachlan's turn last. Sorry about that, Lachlan. I was trying to get everyone's attention. That didn't work.
That's okay. Yeah, I think there's many specific concrete metrics we can use to assess the board's efficiency and progress. Some that would matter to me is I would like to see more students using the food room. There is a lack of food security on campus. More students using the food room doesn't mean more students are hungry. It means more students are being fed. Things like higher employment rates on campus from St. Mary's University is a concrete metric we can use as students to assess the board's significance. We can also look at research grants and positions for students, TA pay, and also unenrollment or dropout rate. Those are vulnerable students who are leaving our institutions partially because of a lack of support. And those are the sort of concrete metrics that I hope you use to evaluate us as board members going forward. Thank you.
Alex. Okay, well, you're F, you're next.
If I were elected onto the board of directors next year, here's how I would measure student success. I believe that the point of the board of directors is to optimize and help student life. At the beginning of the school year, I would send a survey out to all students on their SMU emails, asking them to quantify their experience with student life at St. Mary's University. This can be done by asking questions such as, rate your experience at SMU and your review on SMU on a scale of 0 to 10. And then I would send that same survey out at the end of the year. The difference between these numbers and the data would be the contribution that the board had. Thank you.
To measure the success of SMUSA as a board, there's 2 things that need to be kept in mind. Student engagement. How many students know what SMUSA does? How many students know what the board does? How many students are aware of the services that SMUSA provides them with? And the second would be their thoughts on it. Are they happy with what they're getting from SMUSA? And of course, there are so many other factors that should be taken into account here. And success is defined by all of these factors, not just 1 or 2. And one solid metrics would be asking students like, hey, do you know what SMUSA is? And all of these questions, they should be asked to the students. Like whether it's surveys, whether it's opening a booth and standing there and talking to people, whether it's just going around and asking people randomly, we need to know, like, do students know what we're doing? Thank you.
Pop-up tables, I love them. I think just if I want to increase awareness, that's a big thing for me. And to do that, you need to talk to students. And let's be honest, if you get sent a Google form or Microsoft form or whatever on your email, you're not going to do it. I don't know many people who actually fill those forms out unless they're emailed 15 times to fill it out. And then most people don't do it out of pettiness. So I would do it in person. I don't think you can ever fully concretely say everyone in the school is benefiting from this, but I can say if there is a significant increase in awareness of what events are happening, you can see through the numbers of people that are going to events. That's always tracked every event, or you can see through like student engagement. If you ask them questions about SMUSA and like how it runs, and if they know, then it shows that we've made an effort and that effort has worked. And that's how I would find it. Thank you.
Okay, before we wrap up, I've been doing this a long time, volunteering to be your moderator. And I have a couple of things I want to say before I leave, because this is my last time. First of all, I've met incredible students through this, and in the last 24 hours, I've been reminded of that. I don't know if you were aware that a young woman stabbed a little kid on Sunday in Halifax. I watched on the news last night, and the young man who's the Crown prosecutor was the chair of the board here at SMUSA. He is an incredible young man, and he did that and finished his term here in a wheelchair because he was hurt in a snowboarding accident. He's an incredible young man, and he's a resource out there for you. I've never picked up the phone and asked anyone to help me when I'm doing this and had them say no. Between Brian Rice and Deekshaw and Alex, who's here, and Mitch, who's here, I've made a lot of really, really good friends. And so when I say this, I'm saying this from a good place. I've also provided all of your speakers for the last at least 15 years. And those are my friends who come in and do that for free. And when I asked John last night, I said, and John, that was a favor. He came, he was flying back from the UK, and he was exhausted, and he came anyway. And I thought he added some value. And all of them have said they would help you. And I would help you. But you have to know one thing. The enemy is not in this room. And those of you who are fighting one another, I know I'm done with it. I know everyone else is done with it. You have so much work to do. You have so many things you could change. You have the world at your feet. And you have people like me who have a lot better things to do, who come and give their time. And you have people like that long list. And I can tell you the long list of people who have been your guest speakers. Jamie Campbell, who's a Supreme Court judge, came and spent an hour with you because I asked him to. Graham Steele, who at the time was the Minister of Finance, spent an hour with you because I asked him to. It's been nonstop for many, many years. And the one thing I want to say to you is stop fighting each other. The enemy is not in SMUSA. You have work to do, and the work is outside of this room. So sending anonymous emails to people and being immature is not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone, okay? So you have people who want to help you, and even though I'm not going to do this anymore because it's been a long time, I still care, and I would still help you if you called and asked for help, and I'd help you find other people who could help you, okay? Thank you.